Good evening. Today is Tuesday, March 14th, 6 p.m., and I'm going to call the Safety Committee meeting to session. The roll call, Mr. Bellin is here, Mr. Deeds? Here. And Mr. Barr is not here this evening. As this is the first meeting of the Safety Committee in 2023, first order of business is to select a Safety Committee chair. Do I have any nominations?
I'll nominate Mr. Bellin.
Thank you, sir. I will accept. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye? All right. All right, with that business out of the way, next up is audience participation.
Yes, we have a few people this evening. First, we have Charles McGlumphy.
Good evening, sir. Please state your name and address for the record.
Charles McGlumphy, 1487 Jennifer Drive, Twinsburg, Ohio.
Thank you, sir. Welcome.
Well, thank you. Just start, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I addressed the council at their last meeting, and they suggested I attend this meeting and put forth the proposals that I have. I don't have anything written. I don't really know what the process is, if there is one, for enlisting the city in aid of safety within our neighborhood. I live in the Lake Plata subdivision, and as I mentioned to council in their last meeting that I attended, there's a definite cut-through problem. There's a definite speed problem. I believe that there's a lack of attention by both residents and people that are non-residents going through there. There's no signs posted of anything other than the speed limit. And the mayor was good enough to have some signs, the flashing signs, put up. They did an extraordinary job as far as slowing people down, making them aware that there was a speed limit that wasn't 35, but rather 25. And in our homeowners association meeting that we had last month, the subject of safety came up. It was brought up just as a general thing. The first three comments were, what happened to the flashing signs that we had on Jennifer Drive? Well, I addressed Sam on that, and he said that those have to be circulated throughout the community, which is understandable. So then we had a little further discussion about the safety. We have funds set aside in our homeowners association that would accommodate the purchase of some of those. I also made a proposal that a stop sign needs to be put on Jennifer Drive at a three-way stop at the one intersection there that enhances the speed of people coming down into the intersection. The same issue was addressed in our homeowners association meeting by the people that are now on the Sherwood Preserve, the new area that's broke through to Shepherd Road. Okay, they have the same identical problem. No signs were posted there because at that time that one sign was posted on Jennifer and then moved to the other side of the street and then gone. So our proposal is that we be allowed to put signs up of our own as a homeowners association. I would enlist the city to please consider the stop sign on Jennifer Drive. It's not going to be put there so that people will slow down. It's going to be put there so people will stop. It is not a good intersection. It's blinded on one side by trees that have been trimmed, but is not to take away from the aesthetics of the community. So with that, I would ask the city to put up a stop sign there. There's a three-way, it would be a three-way stop. It's also a bus stop in the morning for the school. It's where they gather from that particular area. So it would be a safety issue there. Along the same lines of the signs, there was police presence on several occasions that I asked for in the mornings, especially between the hours of 7:30 and 8:30. There was a police car stationed right on Jennifer Drive. It was parked on the opposite side of my street, which is with the same side of the street that the fire hydrants are on. So I don't know. At least it slowed people down. But again, the stop sign would be there for people to stop, not to slow down, to stop, because it is a blinded area, especially coming up off of Andrew, I believe it is. The other thing is, a few years ago, it looked like, and I believe that the city had to do with that, they put in the handicap ramps by the crosswalks. I would suggest that we paint the crosswalks. There's no crosswalks painted there. It is a pedestrian's right, as I understand it, if they are standing at a crosswalk for someone to stop, whether there's a stop sign there or not. It's a four-way stop in that subdivision, and we have some other stop signs in the others, of course, coming off of the cul-de-sacs. And I think where those particular ramps were put in, the handicap walks, I believe we should have crosswalks that designate the area that should be walked. And that, again, would be a caution for people to slow down, for people to be safe, to recognize pedestrians. Many people in our subdivision walk early in the morning, as early as 5 a.m., and late at night, as late as 10. And I think that, and walk dogs and all that, that's another discussion. You're not worried about the dogs. That's our problem. But anyway, those are my issues with safety. If there's a paper proposal, if there's a drawn-up proposal that our homeowners association needs to present to the city, let me know what the guidelines are. Let me know what I have to do. I'm here on their behalf also. I asked them to join us tonight. I made it open to anybody, but I don't have a following, evidently. I'm going to be a one-man band in this regard. So I hope you'll give a lot of consideration to that. I hope I'll get an answer back soon, maybe even tonight. I don't know. But I think it's an issue. And in speaking to people in other subdivisions, they're having the same problem, the same issues. And that new street that they broke through, beautiful homes, young children, summer's coming, school's going to be out. I just don't want anything to happen. So please consider that too.
Thank you.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate it.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes, Ms. Walker.
Yes, can I say something,
Yeah,
please?
please.
Okay. Sir, I remember you from the last time, and this was, okay. And this was back in December, and I let the mayor know what was going on in Lake Plata. And I do remember we did put up temporary stop signs. We put up.
You didn't put up temporary stop
stop sign.
signs. You put up temporary flashing signs.
Yeah, right, flashes.
There were no stop signs.
Right, okay. So, thank you so much. And then we did have police presence because I was working with, our police chief over here, and there was police presence there to tell the pedestrian, the drivers that, if you speed again, you're going to get a ticket, and they were present there. I even included the mayor, and I don't know if the mayor drove around.
If that happened, are there records of who they stopped and any citations issued?
I don't know. I don't work
Okay.
for the police department. You may talk to him
Okay.
and see. And I remember our last conversation, it could have been about maybe 2 months ago, when I called you to see if everything was fine, and you said, it's okay, everything is good. That's what I heard from you. So with that being said, I called the mayor, I talked to the chief, and I said, everything's fine, and I thanked them.
Okay.
But now, all of a sudden, this has recurred again.
Well, the signs went down.
Yeah.
Okay, the police presence hasn't been there. I'm usually up at that hour, and
Well-
I watch the school bus
Yeah, they were there.
zoom down the street.
Right. And when I talked to you, you said everything was good.
Yeah, I don't, well, I
That's
don't
what
recall that, Daisy.
Yeah. Yeah, we did.
I know that there were occasions that you told me you were going to call me and you didn't. So, I mean, we'll leave it at what you say.
Mm-hmm.
But at this point, then let me continue with the fact that if they were fine at that time, they're not fine anymore.
Okay, all right.
It's kind of like having a leak in a roof and you fix it and it's still leaking.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
All right.
I mean, as far as kind of what needs to be done in terms of a proposal and those kind of things, I guess I would defer to the mayor. I would imagine there's probably an official process, whether he comes in and sits and talks with you or the building department or Ms. Moore or Chief Mason or those kind of things.
Yeah. Well, what and we've talked a few times. And what I would like to do is, we do have the engineer here and the chief here, and I think that they could both address some of the there was a lot put out here, and I believe we're about to hear a lot more very soon. I believe that's what the next group of people are here for, the same thing, from what I understand. So, maybe if we let them talk, and then, we can let the chief and or Amy stand up, and our engineer, and then maybe address some of these questions and concerns. How's that sound? Does that sound like a good plan for everybody?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you. Shannon, next.
All right. Next, we have Bob Senta.
My name is Bob Senta, 2883 Hawkins Lane, Twinsburg. 20-year resident and have similar concerns the last gentleman just expressed, but in a different area. So a number of us reached out to the mayor, to Councilman Barr, to Karen Labby as well, about this intersection of Timothy, Glenwood, Parmalee. And it was really precipitated, kind of accumulation of issues over the years, an accident, T-bone accident with an Amazon truck and a car, pretty bad accident, ended up in one of our neighbors, Sean Ward's front yard here. The intersection's a big problem, and I appreciate the work that the police did. Mayor, on our behalf, pulled together a very detailed report, findings, kind of came to some conclusions, which we understand and respect, but that intersection's a big problem. Speed on Glenwood, another gentleman talked about speed. Speed on Glenwood, unless you're driving 35 and it's a 25, you will be tailgated, and even then you'll be tailgated. Faster than that, it's a big problem. If you look at where we sit on a map, it's basically on a hump. So when you pull out from Timothy, you really can't see left very far and you can't see right very far. And with cars coming at 35, 40 miles an hour, you got to hammer it as soon as you pull out. And if you walk your dog, like I do a lot, several times we've almost gotten run over. So speed is a problem, sight lines are a problem, accidents are a problem. Seems like the conclusion weren't quite as many accidents as we thought, but from my perspective, that intersection is a big problem, and really all up and down Glenwood. Now, I've seen, I leave at 7:30 in the morning, come back at 6:30 at night, so I don't know what goes on during the day. We've seen police at the, like where Aaron Moses is, they sit there. I've never seen anybody anywhere else. There's no flashing signs as far as I know, so I'm not sure what the right answer is, but there's a number of us here tonight, I think, that all want to talk, and we're really concerned about that intersection.
Understand.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Rick, is it Shorick? Stewart.
Rich Stibrick, 2884 Hawkins Lane. Same topic as Bob Senta talked to. Lived there over 20 years with my wife and our kids. And I was going to point out, my esteemed colleague over here talked about the way that the roads are curved at that intersection. I would also say that the accidents, I believe, that have occurred at that intersection have been pretty severe relative to cars flipping over after they've been hit. So it's not just the fender bender. I concur with Bob a couple of times coming out of that intersection. I'm looking both ways. I pull out and all of a sudden there's a car, and it's due to the speed of those cars that are traveling around those curves and don't realize, that the speed limit's a lot lower than it is. I would also say that I did see a speed sign that said, hey, flashes if you're going beyond, but it was further down the road. I think that maybe helped a little bit, but right where we are at that intersection of Timothy and Glenwood is where that problem area occurs, and there's a lot of speed that goes through that area. And it's a blind intersection, so appreciate your consideration and help.
Thank you, sir.
And last, we have Sean Ward.
Hi, everybody. Council persons. My name's Sean Ward. I live on 10059 Timothy Lane, right at the corner. Probably have many of my call logs into the police department over the last 7 to 8 years. I like to consider myself kind of like the Walmart greeter for the neighborhood. Right? Everyone comes down. I'm at the corner. I'm outside with my family, 3 young children, 2 dogs. very active family. And, recently, the last accident was what prompted me to kind of call my neighbors and reach out to the city because it's dangerous. I don't even like cutting my grass on that corner anymore. Last year, a car ran off the road, ran over a street sign just on the other side of me. Had I been cutting the grass on that side, there's too many had I beens happening. I don't have a prepared set of remarks besides we need to do more research, more intelligent research in terms of actually seeing how much traffic's going down there and how much speed is happening. There's got to be ways to do that. You see those rumble strips in the road that capture the cars and they go. The community of speeders happen at night oftentimes. They're very loud. People love the drag race. I know there's another gentleman who lives on the other side, Mr. Brown, who's called about that. There's got to be a solution to this if we probably studied other communities. Speed bumps could be one, stop signs could be one. Crosswalks, I can't believe that's not even, there's, go up and down Glenwood, not even our community, but up and down Glenwood, there's a smaller amount of crosswalks than there are walkers. The commercial vehicles that go down the street is pretty intense. I get construction on a temporary basis when we're doing stuff to improve. That makes sense. But every single delivery truck going from Heinen's to Jugmart goes down there. Lord knows they couldn't stop very quick. If that hits a car, we could be looking at something much, much worse. I love the city of Twinsburg, and I love that I'm here and able to have a voice. So I can go on and on about wanting to be safe, but just please, hopefully you listen to what we're saying and study it, and crosswalks would be a great start.
Thank you, Mr. Ward. Anybody else?
That's all we have.
So I lived on Timothy Lane for 10 years. So I know, and I live down, I'm in Corbett's now, so I'm still very familiar with Glenwood. I think everything that you're saying in terms of the speed on Glenwood, I would concur with 100%. I know that Chief Mason and I have had conversations about this over the years. I don't think that the speed on Glenwood is necessarily a shock to anybody would disagree with that. In terms of, I don't know, Amy or Chief, would you be willing to come up? I know, Chief, I know that you have put together some you took a look at the specific accidents over the years. To your point, Mr. Ward, there are ways that we can, look at traffic and those kind of things. I don't know, Amy, if you can speak to that. But yeah, I'm certainly open to the conversation. Evening.
So just to put some things into context before Amy speaks, I apologize, my back is to you. They want me on mic. So as you may be aware of, maybe you're not, when the mayor's office started receiving some complaints, we did a study. We did a 5-year look back on the section of Glenwood from State Route 91 to Liberty Road. There's multiple intersections like Timothy and Parmalee. There's 4, in fact. And they're basically a two-way stop. The cross streets are where they have the stop signs. So again, I don't know if this is news to you or not, but we did a 5-year look back on those intersections. And we included, the search was pretty specific. It was Glenwood at Myrick, Glenwood at Waterford, Glenwood at Parmalee, Glenwood at Timothy, Glenwood at Framingham, Glenwood at Brighton, Glenwood at Ethans, and Glenwood at Bissell. So over the past 5 years, there are what could be considered 7 accidents, 7 reported accidents. In the grand scheme of things, it's not a lot of accidents for that area. And I'm not dismissing anything you were saying. I'm just telling you what the numbers reflect. So in the grand scheme of things, there are not a lot of accidents in that area. In looking at the specific accidents, such as the most recent, yes, that was caused by an Amazon driver's failure to stop for a stop sign. I don't think it necessarily has anything to do, well, I know it doesn't have anything to do with that driver was not on Glenwood. They failed to stop for a stop sign, hit a vehicle. So there's multiple incidents like that. The incident you were speaking to where the driver went off the roadway, I'd have to look through my report. I believe he was texting. He took his eyes off the road. So it doesn't necessarily have to do with it being a dangerous blind intersection, anything like that. Okay, so these are what the numbers show. As far as the traffic goes, again, to give you a little bit of context, so back on the 10th, we took down downloaded the data from the speed signs. The signs had been up from February 6th to March 10th. Just to give you, again, some context, westbound on Ethans in that stretch, total vehicle over that time span, the total number of vehicles was 94,161. The 85th percentile of speed for those vehicles, which means 85% of the vehicles measured were going this speed or slower, were 30.11 miles per hour. The average speed is 18.81. You ask, how can that be? Well, it's for a variety of reasons, because it takes into context every vehicle that's measured, be it a delivery vehicle, someone stopping, starting, someone going slow, someone going fast. The highest speed recorded was 53 miles per hour. That was at 6:12 a.m. on the 23rd. Sometimes it's an emergency vehicle, sometimes it's not. We were unable to determine whether it was an emergency vehicle in that instance or not. Some of the higher speeds recorded, there were 2 vehicles at 49 miles per hour, 2 vehicles at 48, 9 at 47, 5 at 46, 4 at 45, 13 at 44. Going eastbound, that same direction. What's interesting is noticeably less, about half the traffic, 45,117 cars, so basically about half the traffic. Average recorded speed in that direction, 28.75. The 85th percentile was 33.36. The highest speed recorded that direction was 41 miles per hour. A total of 82 vehicles were traveling 10 miles per hour over the posted speed limit, and that's out of the 45,000 vehicles. So I'm just here to tell you what the numbers show, okay? Your perception is your reality. When you're outside, you're walking your dog and a vehicle's coming by, maybe it is one of these vehicles that is speeding. I'll defer to Amy shortly to tell you what you can and can't do, because it's very strictly regulated what you can do for traffic control devices, stop walks, things like that. What we can do is have our presence out there more. You know, the signs are effective, but after a while, again, I can only put the signs out so long. You know, after they left your development, they went over to there. And we can.
Where are they now?
Well, I don't know. I'd have to see what the rotation is. We do have a rotation. I have a couple officers that are pretty fluent in this and downloading the data, so they're the ones who post them and, you know, bring them in, recharge them, maintain them, post them, download the data. So they get circulated quite a bit throughout the city. You know, the other end of Glenwood, Meadowwood, Cannon Road, we put them all over the place. So I couldn't tell you where they are right this moment. But again, that's something we can talk about as you're interested. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I have a question. So the way the speed is monitored, is that?
Excuse me, sir, could you come up to the podium just so we can hear? Thank you.
I'm sorry.
No, thank you.
My wife tells me I talk loud enough, so I'm not used to. I just wanted to understand the speed that you got the numbers from. Is that on the post that says, hey, you're going this direction when you post in?
It's built into the sign itself. The sign itself has a radar unit. And that's what it displays your speed. It's actually reading your speed.
God, I was wondering, and my question was really about, people see that sign, you know, they're gonna hit the brakes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it already recorded the fact that they were going 45 miles an hour before it hit the sign.
Yes,
Okay, that was my question.
As a vehicle hits it and slows down, it will record their speed as they're slowing down, but that initial speed is recorded.
Okay,
Yes.
great. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Just a couple questions about the report. Could you run through maybe the last 2 or 3 accidents that happened on there? And I'd just like to see kind of when the dates were.
Okay.
So I do have phone calls I made. I want to make sure that they were all there and all captured. And then in terms of that sign, or to that sign, it's collecting speed at that side of the street, which was nowhere near what we were discussing as the problem intersection.
Okay.
And it is known that the cops sit where the golf course entrance is, and that's right kind of where that speed sign was. And people are always flickering their lights when they see you guys.
Okay.
So just letting you know, I don't flicker my lights, but, so.
Sure.
Can you comment on, where that location is? Because I think we're kind of talking about 2 different things, different spaces. I know we're talking about Glenwood.
Right.
But for our concerns, perhaps we can redo it at closer to the intersection.
We can, but I think that out of, the lesser amount of vehicles is still near 46,000 vehicles. And a lot of it are people who drive that route every day. So how many drivers are new to that route, I couldn't tell you. But that's a lot of vehicles. So I don't think everybody knows where the police sit out of that 45 or the 95,000 going the other direction. But sure, we could look into that, absolutely. Your question as far as the accidents go, okay, you specifically wanted to know.
The last few.
The last few would be, okay, at Parmalee on 2/1 of 23, that was the most recent one. That was the Amazon driver. In that specific area, there was January of 22. That was the vehicle that ran off the roadway. He was looking at his Jeep, no, this was a two-car accident, I'm sorry. He was looking at his GPS and veered across the road and hit another vehicle.
That was a flip car?
Yeah, that I do not know. We had another one in 21 that was, I don't have a lot of detail because the parties declined to report. We responded to a multi-car accident. They declined to report and elected to resolve the incident themselves. Only minor damage was reported. Let's see, by Timothy on April of 2022. Again, this was a two-car, and the operator of the vehicle failed to stop for a stop sign. Let's see, July 19th of 22. That's where the at-fault vehicle, the operator was texting and drove off the road striking a sign. So those are the most recent I have in that area.
Is 4 in less than 2 years not a lot?
Is 4 in less than 2 years not a lot? I wouldn't say it's not a lot, but when I consider what the contributing circumstances are, two of them failed to stop for a stop sign. One of them was distracted driving. So I don't know that.
Compared to like other areas of the community.
Mm-hmm.
Like compared to Myrick and all the other ones, they didn't have any
Right,
accidents. We had accidents.
they're all.
Okay, yeah, and we did,
That's the whole city too. Like,
Sure.
Like other communities, developments,
Sure, I do have a couple recorded for Myrick. I just gave you what the most recent. Myrick, yeah. No, I'm not dismissing what you're saying, just trying to show what the numbers, and that kind of lends itself, again, to what we can do, what we can't do. More importantly, I think what the engineer is going to tell you as well will shed some light on what we can and can't do.
Chief, do you have anything to address in Lake Plata?
I just wanted to say that you're going by numbers. Wouldn't it be great if you were standing up there saying 0? So all it takes is like one serious, one fatality, one kid getting hit. That's all it takes is one. And then there will be a reaction, a huge reaction.
I understand
So
that, but we can say that for every development in the city as well.
And you know what? We need more crosswalks, stop signs, and flashing lights.
Okay, and
It's simple.
that's something we can.
More signs that say, like they have in Macedonia, say, I love our kids.
Mhm.
And that's what I want to put up in our subdivision, and I'm not asking the city to do it.
Well,
I'm asking permission from the city to do
Okay,
it.
we'll talk about it because there's things you can and can't do. What I can control is my officer's enforcement.
I don't want to know what I can't do. I want to know what I can do.
Well, you
Don't
need
tell me about what I can't
you need to know what you can't do because
If you tell me
it's
something I can't do, I'm going to do it.
okay. All right.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, there's. I'll let Amy explain it.
Okay.
There's rules. There's laws.
I understand. And people are breaking the laws based on your numbers.
Okay.
Based on your numbers, people
Sir,
are breaking
sir.
the law. They're speeding.
Understood.
I don't care if it's one person, 10 persons out of 10,000. It's the one person that's going to hurt you.
Let's let the engineer talk.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Ms. Marr.
Yeah. To the question of is 4 a lot? 4 a lot is if it's occurring right in front of you and it's 4. In the big scheme of traffic, AMATS puts out a traffic report. They do a study every year and it's a traffic safety report. I copied council on that report. to even make that report, you have to have 10 accidents in 3 years. And there are locations in the city that are on that report. There's also a map where I can get a heat map. It kind of creates like a heat map, generates that for where in the city we do have accidents. And a lot of our accidents that create that heat map, we have it. We know we've got an issue over at Haddon Road. That's probably our worst intersection in 82. It's a bigger street. You would anticipate that. But all of our corridors that are bigger streets, 82, 91, Ravenna Road, they'll show up more on the heat map with those accidents. We did look at sight distance on the section of Glenwood, and to verify that, that it met the 25 miles. They actually make 30 miles an hour or better for the design criteria, and usually that design criteria is a criterion there. If somebody's speeding, going the 40-some miles per hour, you are going to have less reaction time associated with that. But again, those areas are not high accident areas. They're concerns just like everywhere else. It's after COVID, the trend in statewide has been people are going faster, the accidents are becoming more severe, and that's what they're showing up in the general trends. It's just people are not paying attention, they're speeding, and we don't know what caused all that movement, but they're trending it in the whole region, the whole state. Across the country, I think they basically have improved. So let's deal directly with the concerns. I'm going to start with the order I have them in here. Jennifer, the three-way stop, and I'm assuming that's with Andrew. We will go do a site distance. I have not done a site distance study over there. So we will go do a site distance study to see what we have in there. The question of three-way stop signs. Stop signs per the Ohio Manual of Uniform Traffic Control, which follows the Federal Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices, does not use stop signs as speed control. So they're not a speed control measure. I know that's what, we get a lot of requests throughout the city, citywide, to install stop signs, typically because it is a speed control request. And that's, again, the code actually says you don't even have to put stop signs at an intersection. Just everybody in the United States is used to being controlled by the stop signs, and we put it on the lesser of the streets, allowing that movement. So I wouldn't say a stop sign would necessarily be the way to go until I look at it if the sight distance problem is there. Pedestrians, the question about pedestrians in on the side, still in the sidewalk area. Pedestrians do not have the first right of go. The pedestrian is just like a car coming up from a side street looking. If the pedestrian does the look left, look right, look, as we're taught as kids, look both directions. If you feel you have assured clear distance, you may enter the roadway. Once you enter that roadway for crossing, then you have the right of way in the road. Now, there are people that will stop when they see a person in a crosswalk associated with it, and that's fine too, and usually wave the person on. But that is not the way the law reads. It basically says, as the individual entering the street, you're to verify, just like coming from a driveway, when you leave your car from the driveway, you basically have to verify you have assured clear distance to do that. Striping of sidewalks. The manual, and again, this can or cannot, this is something for discussion. In 25-mile-an-hour residential roadways, it doesn't really call for crosswalk striping. In some areas, we've definitely used it by all our parks, at all of our traffic signals, larger intersections, things like those with the striping. We do not have it in a lot of the city. It's not in the subdivisions. There is an expense associated with striping those things. If that's what comes out of some future study associated with, we have a lot of intersections, and the question would be, what is the hierarchy of your use of those? So we have used those where they would be required at traffic lights and at those higher locations as far as schools and playgrounds. Not saying that it can't, that can be discussed in further detail, but that's kind of how the city has done it for years associated with that. The Hawkins and Timothy, we did a site distance study, so we've kind of laid them out. Basically, depending on the intersection at Glenwood, Waterford, we did what you would have for sight distance, you provided is 290 feet at a 25 mile an hour. You have about 240 foot sight distance at 30 miles per hour. It's at the 290, and then a 35 mile an hour. If that were your design speed, it would be a higher sight distance. So it meets the 30 mile per hour, which again, this would have been designed at a 25 mile an hour roadway when it was designed. Glenford, that was Glenford, Waterford, Merrick. Glenford and Waterford, again, that one provided about a 300-foot sight distance. Again, we need 240. Timothy and Glenwood was at 320. We have 240. And Glenwood and Pratt, 290, and we have 240. But all of them meet the 30 miles per hour in that study. People go faster than that. You know, that's, again, I know they patrol, they put things up. I can't speak to what an individual is going to do.
Amy, the flashing temporary speed limits that they put up, does that help? Is it shown that helps slow cars?
I think we would concur that it does. And that would be, now here's the other thing when we talked about putting a stop sign or a three-way stop. They appear to like those signs. Maybe you want to put some of those.
One issue we have in Glenwood Preserve, the other one's in Lake Plata, right?
Well, I wouldn't say that's your only location, so those are the two before you today.
Well, I mean, right, as people say, right.
And the other one's in Ethan's, Timothy Lane.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's right, not Glenwood Preserve. You're talking Glenwood Drive, I'm saying Glenwood Preserve. I meant Ethan's. Sorry about that.
Those are the two that are presenting. Over the years, we've had this question probably in almost, I've been here over 20 years, in almost every development.
Do you have any idea what does it cost for like that flashing, a permanent flashing speed limit that runs off solar?
We can get you all that. We can get you those. That was my comment there.
Chief, I think we discussed this last year on the Canon issue. Wasn't it around $3,000?
It depends. And that's when I said, so that we could talk, because there are options. You know, my guys who do this, they are up to date on the latest technology, what's out there. There's solar powered, there's hardwired, there's a variety of options. I will tell you this, there's several $1,000s, you know, at the low end.
Yeah.
But
so,
quality commercial properties.
Right. So that, you know, that's a question. Is there locations that you may want? And then you have to put a hierarchy, because again, I get the same question everywhere in the city at different times. So you would want to really look at a hierarchy of if you wanted to invest and say, well, maybe on those streets that basically are targeted, or we have some sort of meeting that basically, you know, brings the community in, and I'm sure we'll hear about all the streets that have that, but I think you have to look at some point, a hierarchy for where you would do something like that. But they do appear to work where they're implemented.
Mr. McLumpy had asked the question, if his homeowners association wanted to pay for that, would he be allowed to have that in his?
If they wanted, and here's my question, pay for the flashing sign or pay for the kids, welcome?
I think he was talking about stop signs.
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
Whatever the homeowners association gets together with and says, and I agree with Chief, it's $3,000 for one of those signs for a decent one. I mean, you can get one for $1,200 that's gonna blow over in the wind.
Right.
But, I mean, I've already researched that, and I've got a company that can paint the crosswalks. If I present this to the homeowners association, they go, oh, well, listen, we've got this fund put away for this, Can I do it? Can I do it? Now, stop sign's another issue, but I'm gonna mention one thing about the stop sign yet. Same situation, different community, one street over, Laurel Drive, had the same problem. They put up a three-way stop. They didn't put it up to slow people down, they put it up for people to stop. We already know people don't stop because the truck driver that ran over the other thing had an accident, one event where the truck didn't stop. So we know that happens.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead. It's your meeting.
Thank you. Okay. So, no, I'm not going to stop this conversation, but we have a public hearing at 6:45 that has to start at 6:45. So, We also have some other things on the agenda for this evening, okay? My suggestion would be, there's clearly some more discussion that needs to take place, both in the Lake Plata situation as well as the Timothy situation. What I would suggest, Mayor, if you're okay with it, we can put a meeting together or 2 separate meetings where we can come in, we can discuss these things, we can get input from the chief, we can get input from Amy. Again, I'm not looking to quell any conversation at all, but I do have to start this next meeting at 6:45. The other thing we could do is I could make a motion to suspend this meeting, do that meeting, and then come back. But again, I just want to make everybody clear, you know, that I do have to, at 6:45, this meeting at the very least has to pause. So, Mayor?
Yeah, you know what, I agree. I think that the important thing is I wanted for everybody to be heard here tonight, because I did hear from all of you, I believe most of you anyway, and we've had conversation via email. So I wanted all your opinions and views to be heard tonight. You know, I've got the right people here that need to hear them. These are the people here that collectively we can come up with some kind of solution. Hopefully that'll be, you know, a win-win for both sides. So now that we've got this information, the chief will get together, the engineer will get together, you know, we'll talk with council, and we will come up and if we need to, as Mr. Bellin said, you know, we'll all get together again if necessary, but let's see what we can come up with and do a little bit more research, and then we'll get back with everybody in a timely manner. Yes, sir.
One more request also, sorry, real quick, is that the intersection after the accident was not cleaned up very well. There's still pieces of glass and car parts that are on the road and on the crosswalk. Hard to walk your dog. You don't want the dog getting, you know.
Talking about at Timothy and Glenwood?
Timothy and Glenwood.
Perfect. We've got the service director here tonight. He will take care of that tomorrow.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you. And again, I'm not looking to quell any conversation. So the next item on our agenda is a brief emergency operations update. Chief, would you like me to pause this meeting and come back? Okay. All right. That being said, then, I'm going to make a motion that we suspend the safety committee meeting until after the public hearing. May I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Deeds seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. So we're going to go ahead at 6:42. We're going to suspend the safety meeting, Daisy, and then we will come back and reconvene the safety meeting after the public hearing. All right, it's 7:03 p.m. and I'm going to re-adjourn the safety committee meeting. I do recognize that we are a couple minutes late for starting our caucus, but I would like to give Chief Basso an opportunity to speak. He's next up on our agenda for the brief emergency operations update, as well as weather warning signs. Thanks, Chief. I appreciate your patience.
Oh, no problem. The emergency management or operations plan, we authored it 20 years ago. Chief Racine and I. It's served us very well over this time, and it's just, I've been, of course, following public safety for quite a long time now, and right down the road in Talmadge, there's a place that has the best practices that we've been looking at. I have a friend and a mentor down there who's the assistant safety director who came from fire, even earned his PhD in emergency management. But he was one of the reasons behind that when we did the active shooter drill, that company that we brought in. So they have another their plan is right here, and I'll just show you as a prop. This is our emergency operations plan. There's supposed to be 13 books. I think we found a couple yesterday, right, Mayor? Right. And I say that in jest, but it's cumbersome, it's archaic. This is their comprehensive plan, and it's all digitized. So currently we have an ad hoc committee together. I think one of them sitting up here. And we have one of our executive assistants at the fire station and one of our newer firefighters that has shown interest in redoing the plan. It's the elephant, you know, we got to eat some big chunks at a time. We can get it done, but I want to start the conversation about having help from a company that does this as a profession. We're good. This plan was good when we released it. When we first did, we were one of the first communities to have something like that. We gave it out a lot. or they really couldn't leave with it because it's so big. And that's the part of it. There's a lot to update, and we do keep it updated. And I'm looking up at council now going, how many have actually seen this white book? Okay, and that's part of what we talked about yesterday too. We had the public safety, we met yesterday about exercising the plan. We saw what we do together, and there's nothing to worry about because police and fire will do our stuff no matter what. It's getting you on board and making sure you know your roles. So what we learned from that is a lot on our end. We need to have these drills that are citywide, that involve police and fire and service and our HR department and our city council and our park and rec. So that shows that whole incident command system. I mean, you do all that homework for over the last year. You haven't done yours yet, Chuck, but yours is coming. But the cost of the plan, I'm not to scare anybody, but if we did nothing and somebody just came in and they had no information and just did the work, it's about 50 grand. But since we have people here that we already have the plan in place, we can get that down to almost half. So it's something to look at down the road. I'm going to put it in the budget for next year. We have a team together, and I'm coming towards the end of my career. Not a threat or anything, but I'd like to see things finished. Plus I do live here, so I'd like to see that it's an important part of the plan, something that will continue to sustain after I'm gone, and of course the public safety will continue on. But if you have a chance, stop by the FDA. I'll show you the two differences between the plan. And you can see that we can pull it off. It's just a lot of stuff to do, and there's professionals out here that do a lot better job than I do. Okay.
Assistant Chief, I have a question. If this is as vital as you say, and I agree, ours is 20 years old, and why wait?
Well, just a budgetary thing. I
think if it's the point is trying to come up with $25,000 to get this going, and especially if if we want to utilize time now, I think we could probably come up with $25,000.
Well, I don't want to tie you to 25 because I haven't had the second conversation yet. I want to get more information, get you more details.
I don't know if I want. I don't think. In my opinion, I'd rather not wait 11 more months to have it in the budget and then go forward.
On that part, but we already talked about the other part of the conversation was even in the staff meetings. I'll start doing little 15-minute scenarios. I want to do the same we'll figure it out. We got to figure out when to have council and to do these tabletops too. I'm asking for 15 minutes. So that way you get an idea of what our capabilities are, and you raise your eyebrows. I mean, outside, the CERT trailer set up outside. Did you know they're part of the plan? They have an annex. It's 14 pages. Tells you every detail what they do. Search and rescue and triage and traffic control and all sorts of stuff. But they're part of our plan. But each department has an annex in that plan, and council has a role as part of the executive group. So I thank you for that, I guess, support, but more information as I get it. But any more questions on the plan itself?
No, thank you.
Do you want me to wait or just go into the cyber?
I mean, in the interest of yeah, go ahead. I mean,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not doing the CERT trailer. It's outside. You want to go see it? Everybody has a packet. Anybody wants one in the audience to see what's outside? I'll give you a copy or go see it. The last time we met, it was before the March siren test. The test prior to that, three out of 9 worked. All right, we got a hold of BNC. They did some radio tune-ups in between then. So March test, 6 out of 9. So those 3 that have been problematic for years. We finally nailed down the parts. 8 batteries, 8 chargers, and then there's some radio antenna and wiring components for the Ravenna Road site in the township. And I had a conversation with Chris McKay from the township regarding that. BNC now knows this, and they handle our communications needs. They're going to see if they can put a locator on these batteries and chargers. But in the interim, Dave just sent me an email, Dick Dixon from BNC. Before we do anything, let's do they did some other stuff. So let's wait until the April test to see exactly how that system is rolling out. But we got 6 out of 9. That's good news. The good news is that, you're going to hear it no matter what on your phones. You're going to get it before the sirens go off. So another, it served us well for a long time, but start to revisit where we want to have these sirens. And we had conversations. The whole system's not going away. We already know that. We can't do that. We need to keep 2 up at the park on Liberty Road, and we figured 1 at the high school will give a nice sound effect over here with these parks, concentrating on the parks. Golf course, you should be able to hear about those Liberty Road sites, but I guess I'll leave you with this. The public and everybody else has a responsibility too. Don't go golfing if you know it's going to, you're going to get downpoured on. Right. Situational awareness, we call it. So don't ignore the weather reports. Look, if your phone tells you there may be, tornado warnings or whatever, heed them. We saw in the past that we've had tornadoes here, and people were like, I was watching this DVD, but people knew it was 80 degrees outside. It was November, and but that continued to life, and they were surprised when a tornado came down. We're not so much on our end, because we watch for it, but the system, as it's evolving, we'll talk more about that once I get the report back from BNC about the sirens. So, any more questions about sirens?
Thank you, Chief.
Go see the search trailer. They set it up, and they have cookies and the coffee.
Yeah, it's really cool.
It is, it's nice.
All right. Any unfinished business, new business, or miscellaneous? Mr. Deeds?
None.
Mr. Barr?
Nothing, thank you.
All right. Rest of council, anybody? No. All right. I would like the record to reflect that Mr. Barr is here. Originally, when we called roll, he was not. The next meeting date of the Safety Committee will be on Tuesday, May 9th, 2023, here in council chambers. And with that, I will adjourn the Safety Committee meeting at 7:11 p.m.